Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi action movie called Outlander. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The movie opens somewhere around 800 AD as a giant spaceship crashes on Earth. It ends up landing in the middle of a lake, and the resulting collision spooks the nearby animals. Two humanoid figures in advanced spacesuits soon emerge from the rubble. One of them desperately drags his companion, who is clearly hurt, to the shore. He then takes off his own helmet and almost immediately faints while having brief flashbacks of the past. When he wakes up several hours later, the spaceman realizes that his companion has died of a severe chest wound. He is trying to make sense of what might have happened when he hears a robotic call from a distance. The spaceman then sees his AI computer stranded and floating in the lake. He quickly retrieves the machine and instructs the computer to download all available data about this planet. The computer then opens up a protrusion, and the entirety of the data is transferred to the spaceman through his eyes. Following this, the man makes a grave for his fallen colleague and begins to look around in the surrounding forest. He soon comes across a whale carcass next to a destroyed and abandoned village. It is obvious that the attack was carried out by something other than a human. Suddenly, the spaceman gets an intuition that he is being watched by something or someone. He runs away from the spot, but is intercepted by a horse rider who knocks him unconscious. He is then taken to a nearby Viking village that is surrounded by a wooden wall. In the center is a great hall where King Hrothgar is training his young daughter Freya in the art of sword fighting. She tells her dad that she will not marry her suitor, Wulfric, a pretender to the king's throne. This is when Wulfric shows up, but his pedantic attitude only makes Freya leave the hall. Hrothgar and Wulfric then talk about a devastating attack that demolished a nearby village. Turns out Wulfric was investigating what caused the attack when he stumbled upon the spaceman. The Viking has captured him, but doesn't think he belongs to any known village. Meanwhile, the hostage is displayed in front of the villagers, who are amazed by his clothing. Wulfric later takes the man inside a hut for questioning. He asks the spaceman his name, and the latter says it is Kanon. He also lies that he's from an island in the north and was actually on a hunting trip. Obviously, the men don't believe him and think he attacked the nearby village. They then tie Kanon to a wooden pole and leave him for the time being. When everyone is left, Kanon tries to escape using a nearby iron bar. He is about to succeed when Freya suddenly arrives in the hut. We learn that Wulfric has asked her to attend to the prisoner's injuries. That evening, Hrothgar and Wulfric talk about the attack on the nearby village once more. The king wants his men to seek out Gunnar, the chief of the destroyed village. He wants to make it clear that they were not the ones who carried out the attack. Back in the hut, Freya asks Kanon if he was the one who orchestrated the attack, but he vehemently denies it. As the two engage in conversation, Kanon manages to break free and knock out Freya. He is about to flee, but suddenly, a guard sounds his horn, announcing an enemy attack on the village. All the Vikings rush into action, thinking it's Gunnar, who is here to take revenge, but to their utter horror, they realize that the enemy has already managed to enter the village. They have no idea that it is a predatory alien animal who is attacking and killing several villagers in quick succession. Nearby, Kanon, who seems to know what is happening, starts chasing the beast, but it's too late. The mysterious monster grabs a guard and carries him to the edge of the wooden wall. Kanon yells out, calling the creature Morwen, and is about to follow it, but the Vikings once again capture him. They then reprimand him and tie him to a rock. An exhausted Kanon has flashbacks of the Morwen attacking his world and massacring his people. The next day, he is taken to the big hall where Hrothgar is waiting. The king allows the stranger to explain his side of the story, and Kanon replies that he was hunting a beast named Morwen. It had attacked his people and uses magnificent lights on its tail to lure its prey. Kanon also confesses that he accidentally brought the Morwen to this village, but Hrothgar interrupts and scoffs at the absurdity of the entire story. Kanon knows that the Vikings will hunt down whatever had attacked earlier and begs for a chance to go with them. Shortly afterwards, the Vikings and Kanon, who has been given his own horse, leave the village to look for the attacker. A smith named Boromir offers Kanon some mead on the way, but the latter spits it out. If Sean Bean's not playing him, he doesn't want his beer. After a while, Wulfric notices several corpses in the area and proposes to form separate expedition groups Kanon vehemently opposes this, but the king orders his men to search around in pairs. Hrothgar and Boromir then head deeper into the forest, and soon stumble upon a severed horse head. Another couple finds charred corpses outside a cave, and rather foolishly decides to go inside. A few minutes pass, and the entire jungle rings with terrifying screams from the cave. All the Vikings quickly congregate near the cave's mouth and rush inside to save their fellow villagers. They soon come across a giant bear, who begins attacking them with unmatched ferocity. A great struggle ensues in which two more Vikings are ripped apart, but thanks to Kanon's bravery, the group manages to stab the bear multiple times, eventually killing it. In the aftermath of this event, Hrothgar rewards Kanon for his bravery by granting him freedom. The village then organizes a feast in honor of the victory over the bear. Later that night, during the celebrations, Kanon clads himself in Viking garb and is given a seat next to the king himself. Wulfric, who is slightly jealous of the newcomer's quick rise in status, challenges him to a game called Shields. In it, several men stand in a square, making a pathway using only their shields. The competitors must climb on them, and then balance their way forward atop the shields. So, hopscotch. No. Hopscotch is for pussies. This is Shield. After a series of competitive pirouettes, Kanon finally falls on top of Boromir, but doesn't act arrogant and graciously helps his competitor up. It is now obvious that the two men have grown to trust each other. After leaving the Great Hall, Kanon meets Freya, who thanks him for helping her father on the expedition. Kanon explains that it was not the bear who killed her people, but the Morwen. He also warns her that the fearsome beast will return any time. Their conversation is interrupted as Gunnar's men abruptly launch an attack on the village. The two groups then engage in a ferocious clash, where Kanon and Freya each kill a couple of enemies. Hrothgar, on the other hand, encounters Gunnar, who's a big, burly, and extremely proud man. He knocks Hrothgar down, and is about to bash his head to a pulp, but Kanon intervenes at the last second. Just as Gunnar pulls himself together to counterattack, his men tackle him and take him away. They claim that they have lost this battle, and it is time for a retreat. The attacking group hastily leaves, but not before Gunnar accuses Hrothgar of being the murderer of his family and people. Following this devastating skirmish, the village tries to recover. Kanon sits down with Freya, who explains the animosity between her village and the neighboring one. Years ago, Wulfric's father wanted to gather all the villages to plan an attack on the French invaders. Everyone showed up, except Gunnar, and this was seen as a betrayal by a young and hot-headed Wulfric. Gunnar must have thought that they attacked his village as revenge for the betrayal. So, now, both villages have reasons to hate each other. In the woods outside the village, Gunnar's group plans their next attack on Wulfric and his people as they are devising a clever hit-and-run tactic. One of the men breaks away to pee. He begins relieving himself near a lake, only to get attacked by the hiding Morwen. It was going to leave them alone, but it hates being flashed. Following this, all the men begin to fall one by one and believe that they have been ambushed by Wulfric, but Gunnar soon comes face to face with the real threat, a giant, wolf-like alien beast with several whips for a tail. This finally makes the survivors realize that the enemy is beyond their strength, and they run back towards Hrothgar's village. Shortly after, when Kanon notices Gunnar running towards them, he quickly opens the village gates. Everyone thinks he is letting in the enemy, and just as Wulfric is about to kill Gunnar, they see a series of blue lights in the woods. These lights seem to trap a man before ripping him into pieces. The blue lights then turn red, revealing the horrifying Morwen, who escapes into the woods. All the villagers finally realize that Kanon was, in fact, telling the truth. That very night, a meeting is held in the Great Hall to discuss their future course of action. Kanon tells them that fighting the Morwen in open fields is impossible, so they must devise another plan. The next day, the villagers start building a trap right outside the main entrance. They dig a pit several meters deep and fill it with extremely flammable whale fat oil. They then drive several poles into the ground, cover it with loose mud, and eventually the whole structure looks like another hut. After everything is set, Freya and Kanon share a bowl of stew, and that's when he confesses a dark secret. He fantasizes about clapping the Morwen's cheeks. Also, his people are actually an advanced race who conquer other worlds. They expanded their territory far and wide, and soon arrived on the planet of the Morwens. Like everywhere else, they wiped out every organism there with high-tech weapons and bombs. The remaining Morwens were hunted down to have have dominion over the place. Furthermore, Kanon was part of a group of space colonizing force, actively engaging in genocide. In exchange for being able to eradicate the Morwins, he and his family were given a place on the planet where they could reside. Sometime after the conquest, Kanon had to leave for a new mission. He had only been away for a few days when he learned that one of the Morwins had survived the genocide. It wiped out the colony of his people before hiding in his ship's ventilation. This is the same Morwin that is now causing all this havoc on the village currently. Kanon blames himself for that slip-up, but Freya tells him that he shouldn't be so hard on himself. If Vegeta was redeemable, then so are you. To boost his morale, she also gives him her family's sword for the upcoming battle. That night, the warriors open the doors, and Wulfric alongside Kanon goes outside, waiting for the beast to appear. They patiently wait for a while, and can't see much, thanks to the darkness and light snow. Kanon then throws a torch into the forest, only to realize that the Morwin is right in front of them. This prompts them to rush back to the village, alluring the beast. They pass into the hut, carefully step onto the poles they had dug into the ground, and emerge on the other side. The beast follows the two of them into the hut and drops into the flammable liquid. Seconds later, the archer shoots several flaming arrows into the hut, causing a giant explosion. While everyone is surprised by the size of the explosion, a new, smaller Morwin appears inside the village through a well. Freya and her father try to protect everyone by facing the beast, but the old king is fatally wounded. The first Morwin reappears from the fire, angrier than ever. Wulfric and Kanon decide to attack together, but they are no match for the monster. The unbeatable beast grabs a villager and lunges away back into the cover of the forest. The following morning, the entire village leaves, fearing another attack. Kanon tells Wulfric, who is now the new king, that they must fight the monster together. They both enlist a small group of men to go down the well, through which the baby Morwin came from. Will baby Morwinus? But first, Kanon wants to forge new weapons, this time with more substantial materials. He takes Freya and Wulfric to the lake where his ship had crashed to recover some materials by diving down. Kanon begins his underwater search and quickly finds the rubble of his ship. He grabs a giant piece of metal from his home planet, which is stronger, lighter, and more malleable. However, when he gets to the surface, he sees that the boat they were in has been destroyed. An unconscious Wulfric is floating on a piece of wood nearby, but there is no trace of Freya. Kanon returns to the village with Wulfric. He also gives Boromir the piece of metal, and the latter manages to forge a new sword with it. With everything now ready, the group of Vikings heads down the well, and surprisingly, emerge into an extensive network of underground caves. In one dark cave, Freya wakes up and finds herself in the monster's nest of corpses. She looks around and sees the baby Morwin feasting on a corpse nearby. The beast then turns its head, but not to attack her. Instead, it seems to have detected the presence of other intruders. Elsewhere, as Kanon's group is trying to move forward stealthily, the baby Morwin arrives at the spot. It quickly finishes off Boromir. Maybe that was Sean Bean. But the other humans, due to their overwhelming numbers, manage to fatally injure it. Nearby, Freya hears the commotion and calls out for Kanon. He hears her, but so does the mother Morwin, who had been nursing her injuries caused by the explosion earlier. Kanon and Wulfric soon reunite with Freya, and the trio quickly leaves the dark caves. They all reach the end of a waterfall on a mountain next to a cliff. Back inside, Mother Morwin sees the lifeless body of its child, which has several bruises on its body. This seemingly sends her into a fit of madness. Sometime later, the surviving group is trying to escape, when suddenly Wulfric is attacked by Mother Morwin. The newly crowned king knows this is the Thorin and gives his all to fight the beast. He desperately hacks at the beast's face while being brutally bitten in return. Eventually, the Morwin throws Wulfric's corpse towards Kanon, as if to goad the latter into a fight. With no other exit, Kanon re-enters the cave with his sword, and a fierce battle ensues. The beast conducts intense hit-and-run attacks with extreme speed. Kanon, on the other hand, manages to cut a tentacle from its tail. Mother Morwin is about to crush our hero when suddenly Freya appears. She attacks the beast, giving Kanon the perfect moment to lunge at it with full speed. Eventually, both of them fall outside the cave, right near the edge of the waterfall. The beast hangs on for dear life, its nails digging into the left arm of Kanon, who is still on the ledge. In a brilliant stroke of genius, Kanon gets his sword and cuts off the beast's hand, causing it to fall into the void. In the aftermath of this devastating war against the alien creature, Kanon decides to stay back in the Viking village. He decides to settle down with Freya, maybe start up a rap career, and is soon declared the new king of the village. Who better for the job than a genocidal alien maniac? Subscribe for more videos like this.